How's it going, gang? It's the final render here, and what a special day it is, people. Today is our very first camp building video in Fallout 76. We've been playing an awful lot of Fallout 76 here on the channel. We've been streaming it, we've been editing videos, and we've been having a huge amount of fun with it. We've seen and done so much in the game, and I can't wait to get my teeth into the game once it's actually out and there isn't a time limit on it. Because most of the streams we've been doing, they've all been about exploring the landscape and actually playing the base game rather than doing any building, because we have limited time. But yesterday I didn't stream. I took the 8-hour beta block and decided to just play the camp system and see what it's like. We're going to build our very first camp, and then after that we're going to have a little conversation about what we need to do to get better at the camp system in 76. So to start off with, I would recommend you go to the lumber yard. This is very near where Vault 76 is, and you can scavenge a lot of wood here very easily by going up to any fallen logs. And I've actually got multiple perks in here to give me more wood every time I pick up logs, so that's great. The only problem though is that I tended to get distracted whenever I would go scavenging, and I had to stop building to go scavenging quite a lot since it's early in the game, but it is time to start building. The very first build is going to be near the Slocum Joes, which is very near the first Overseer's camp you are likely to find. And my idea for this build was to why not build kind of like a bridge home? Why not build a little home which looks like a bridge? I mean, I'm not going to sell for some beta shack, you know, I'm not just some beta builder, so we're going to build something a little bit more ambitious for our very first build. And it did take a little bit of messing around, a little bit of trial and error to work out the kind of best way to get this design. Because the Fallout 76 engine, it's a little bit more strict on floating objects, so it did take some time to properly work out what I can and can't do when building in this location, but we are slowly starting to get there. The big problem I had with this build in particular was trying to prevent it from looking floaty. But then once I got worked out how to do that by using some of the pylons from the stairs, and later on we improved that further still, it starts to look great. We're just going to have one long room for the actual building. The interior cell is going to have my bed and some shelves and my stash and everything like that. And then on the roof, we're going to have a crafting area, which is very, very nice. And the nice thing about having this kind of two-story building, it means that I've got all of my workshop and stuff separate. So if I just want to chill in my own little home, I can do that without having to step around a lot of the crafting materials and stuff. Because you do need an awful lot of space to put down all of your resources, like your workbenches and your cooking stoves, etc. But all in all, it is starting to come together quite nicely. The snapping abilities in this game are much better than what you can do in Fallout 4. But there are some little caveats to it. Like, I've got these really short fences I wanted to use rather than the half walls, but they just wouldn't snap to certain pieces. They only really snap to foundations. So that's a really bit of a problem, and I had to have these tall half walls, which I really didn't like. And now it's time to start putting in some of the furniture and decorations. We're obviously very, very limited currently, because Fallout 76 uses plans and schematics for you to build in the camp system. And whilst I do have quite a lot of stuff actually unlocked, I don't have all the stuff I would like unlocked. I would definitely need to play the game a lot more to go and unlock all the resources, but to tell you the truth, that's all good fun. I do have some nice things though, like I've got some nice lights, I've got some couches, and it's starting to come together quite nicely already. The actual place does definitely resemble a kind of bridge fort in a way. I decided to get a proper water purifier going straight away. Some people are just okay with settling for the basic water pump at this stage of the game. Not me. Not final render. It's go big or go home on this channel, so we've got an actual water purifier and we've got some proper power generators. And now once again, turning our attention to the inside. Unfortunately, I don't have all the decorations I want, but I do have some nice things, such as these flowers from the Atom store. They're about 200 atoms, I think, and they look nice. And this kitchen stove here, let me tell you about this kitchen stove. I paid 450 caps for this decorative stove, because I thought it was a stove you could actually use to cook, but it's not. So I'm making sure it definitely goes in every build I am using. And we do luckily have a lot of these really cool lamplit posters available from the start of the game, I believe, including Mr. Pebbles. So he's definitely got to go in there, because Mr. Pebbles is my man. And it's starting to look really nice at night. The idea is that when the new players come out of the vault, I want to show the new players, look at what you could build with some practice. And this is what I've come up with. Having lots of lights on the exterior means new players are going to notice it pretty much straight away, and it's a really nice little addition to have near the start of the game, because at the start of the game you don't really see many builds or anything. Most people just kind of immediately run away, but to have your camp near here, I think is a cool thing for all the new players to see. And now it is time to actually kind of reinforce the place by having some towers rather than the little poles, because the little poles made it look floaty, but having the actual towers looks great. And it was so cool once the actual build was kind of done, because players were coming up to me, new players as I said, and they were really proud of it. They thought it was really cool, and it was so nice to just have immediate feedback from other players saying, wow, this is a cool build, and I'm really proud of it. This build pretty much maxed out my entire settlement budget. I did have to do some reworking in order to fit in everything I wanted, but even so, there are a lot of things I definitely wanted. I wanted some proper rugs, but unfortunately I don't have them unlocked, and I wanted maybe some more varieties of furniture, you know, maybe some different tables and stuff like that, and also more electronics I wanted. But for a very first camp build, I think this is pretty darn nice. And normally I would get a couple more shots of the actual build just to end up the video, but unfortunately I actually ran out of beta time as well. So, hope you enjoy the video guys. Let's have a talk about the camp system. Alright, so the Fallout 76 camp building. It is very different to Fallout 4 system, but at the same time, it is a much better version of the Fallout 4 building system. Something which I really liked about the camp system over the settlement building was the fact that the snapping was much nicer. The snapping was much crisper. Things snapped together sooner rather than having to kind of jimmy things around and try to squeeze it into a little gap. And also, you are actually able to do things like rooms within rooms straight away. There's more snapping points on objects, and when Fallout 4 first came out, it actually took a bit of practice before the community finally found a way to make it so that you could have rooms inside the buildings you make. So it's actually a bit better right off the get-go. But there are obviously some problems with it which some people aren't too happy with, and I'm not too happy about some of them, but other things I think is good. Firstly, there actually is a right and a wrong way to build in the camp system, it turns out. When you actually are building in your camp system, you can't scrap things. You really can't scrap things, because if you are building in this game, if you scrap something, you only get half the resources back for what the item costs. So therefore, if you don't like something you've built and you decide to scrap it, you will lose a huge amount of resources. You have to store your items. So make sure when you're building, do not scrap items. Always store them. It doesn't add any extra kind of budget into your camp system, but it does mean you can build that later on for free. But this, of course, also adds some nice things. It means that since you do have to scavenge your resources, since you can store things pretty much unlimited, it means once you've built something once, you never have to build it again. For example, I really wanted to build a big fusion core generator in my camp. I actually have found the blueprint to go and build those, but unfortunately I didn't have the resources. However, once I do have the resources and I build one once, I will always have that thing built. So eventually you'll never have to worry about scavenging, because you will have everything built, at least one version of everything built, if you catch my drift. And something else I suppose it is kind of a cool thing, but at the same time, it is going to take a long time to kind of get used to it, is the fact that I don't have many blueprints yet. I know it sounds like a very first world problem saying, oh no, I've got to play the game more in order to do the thing I really want to do in the game. As I said, very first world problem, but I do think it is going to get in the way of people like me and Cordless7 and No Respawns. It's going to take us some time before we can fully unlock our potential, just because we don't have all of the plans available for the settlement building. And another thing which I think is a little bit strict on the camp system is obviously the stash limit. Your stashes only have 400 kind of pounds of weight, I suppose, you can store in them. And if you're a builder like me, it means you don't have much space left over for guns and power armor and stuff. I would like to see a way to improve the actual amount of stuff you can store. Now, I actually have found quite a few ways to maximize your stash ability, so maybe I can make an entire video on that, how to completely maximize the amount of space in your stash. But it would be nice to have some more space in there. And also, the actual building limit, it needs to be just a tiny bit bigger. Not that much bigger, but the actual camp building limit does need to be a bit more. As I said, I had to go to extra effort to make sure that I could get a lot of the stuff in there I wanted. And I still wanted to add more, but I eventually kind of made some compromises and made the camp I wanted. So thank you very much for watching this video, guys. This has been my very first camp build in 76 and some of my first impression of the camp system. Overall though, guys, it's got to be said, it is better than what Fallout 4 is. We just need some time to get used to it. So see you around. This has been the final render, and you be the audience. Until next time, farewell. Remember to check out all the cool Patreon people in the description below who help support the channel with their financial donations. You, of course, can also do the same, and I'll see you around. Bye-bye for now.